at Madison Southern High School. And then last on our list tonight for 30 years of service, Aline A.J. Tipton, bus driver. Now, I'd like to do, let's do one more, and then we'll get the group photo, okay? Next, it's a rare occasion where we're able to honor an employee for 40 years of service. Most choose to enjoy the thrill of retirement before they reach that milestone in their service. But this year we have the privilege of honoring one employee for her 40 years of service, her faithful, dedicated, and steadfast service to the district. Mrs. Pat Hoskins began her career in the transportation department as a bus driver in the fall of 1982. During her tenure with the district, she's also served as an instructional assistant, a cook, an aide, an attendance clerk, and route coordinator. In 2003, she became assistant director for transportation. She has been serving as transportation data assistant since 2019. Mrs. Pat has been a vital part of the district's transportation department since she was hired, and she continues to help us keep things running smoothly in transportation. We are so thankful and grateful for your service over the years. Congratulations, Mrs. Pat Hoskins, for 40 years of service. I want to do a group photo. You guys want to jump in here?
Excuse me, Dr. Gillum?
Yes.
We have one more additional award for 30 years of service to Madison County Schools. It belongs to Superintendent Dr. David Gillum. From your years as a teacher and a coach to your tenure as a school administrator and your many years of service as a district-level administrator and superintendent, your leadership is impactful in so many ways in this district. On behalf of the board, it gives me great pride to present you with this award for 30 years of faithful, dedicated service to the students and staff of Madison County Schools.
Surprise.
Surprise.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
I've been here 30 years, but Shane's a lot older than me.
One, two, three. Thank you. Yay! It's not very often we get to surprise you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, thank you all. I appreciate that. And congratulations to all of our folks there.
Thank you to everyone. We appreciate your all service. Next up is number 4, audience comments. We don't have any. Okay. Next is our consent agenda. These are items that the board sees regularly and we are very familiar with. Items to be approved on the consent agenda are the minutes of the May 26, 2022 meeting, the claims, the record of the superintendent's personnel actions, the leaves of absence, technology surplus, the B. Michael Cottle Middle School trip to Holiday World in Indiana on July 23, 2022, the review of the special education procedures, the review of Section 504 procedures for student services. Do we have any questions? Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So move.
Motion by Ms. Burford,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Cobb. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. All right, next we have our monthly reports. Tonight we have the academic intervention coaches. We have Mr. Kevin Prisnell, Leslie Lilly, Angela Gabbard, and Jared Weinberger for our instruction report. How are you all tonight?
Good. Thank you so much for having us this evening. We'd just like to start off by saying that our building coaches and our teachers have worked so hard this year to meet and support the needs of the students of Madison County Schools. And as Dr. Hunter shared last month, our growth data shows that hard work is paying off. And so we're so grateful to teachers and building coaches for putting in that work and diving in this year.
Hi,
Hi, thank you all. I'm Angela Gabbard. Something I noticed that has happened this year with the academic instructional coaches and building coaches, there's been an atmosphere of collaboration. I think that we haven't been able to fully grasp before. For example, in one of the buildings I work with, a newer teacher needed some support with writing. She and her building coach went and worked with another teacher in another building to build a plan, and what that looked like going forward is great. And sometimes I think the best professional development could be a teacher down the hall or another building in our district, and this has really fostered that. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. How are you?
So I won't labor the points. I think we all know what we faced in education as we returned to buildings this year and kind of what we were charged with getting kids back on track with their learning. What I'm really grateful for this year is I feel like I've had a front row seat to watch all of these changes happen in different ways in each of our buildings. And that was what's really cool about our system is that we're able to help where buildings need us to help. And we would love to get all the schools up in front of you all to say all the cool things that they've been doing this year, but the time won't allow that. But we do have two schools that are going to be coming tonight. The first one is going to be Foley Middle, and their building coach, Robin Wilson, and one of their math teachers, Dylan Boone, is going to kind of tell you some of the things that they've been working on and what they've done this past year to really meet students' needs where they're at. I will say, I know that they're going to be modest, right? But their data is super exciting to look at and what they've been able to accomplish this year. They had tremendous growth in math, and I'm sure that they're going to talk about it. But as you look at their reading and their reading spring iReady data, it's actually better than 18-19 data. So not only have we closed this COVID gap, but we're actually improving on general practices overall. I think that says a lot about what Foley teachers, their building leadership, their students have all done this year. They're going to tell you a little bit more about exactly what they've done and how that's looked.
Hi, Kevin's too kind to us. For the past several years, our reading and language arts, math and language arts teachers have kind of talked about modifying the way we do our intervention time at Foley, which is they would like to do smaller groups targeted to skills. But we never were really able to make that happen. But when we got our iReady data back last fall, and we shared that through all of the PLCs and all of the departments, it was evident that we were going to have to do something very different than we'd ever done before, because we weren't accustomed to looking at data that looked like that. So the teacher said, let's try this small group. Let's try doing intervention differently. And so Kevin and I sat down together and we brainstormed and decided to let teachers figure out how to do that. And so we got an RTI team together, and we took a volunteer or two from every department, creative arts, science, social studies, language arts, and math, and let them kind of decide and build what it would look like and how we would logistically do that. And so Mr. Boone was part of all of the process, and so I'm going to let him talk a little more about what they did. You're welcome.
So, as Ms. Wilson said, I had the fortunate experience to be on the RTI committee and to run a small group at Foley this school year. To start, when we did the RTI committee, Robin compiled a bunch of data for us to look at to see what students would best benefit from a small group situation. And at that time, put it up to us as RTI committee members and teachers to how do we want to run our small groups? Which students on this list that we're looking at would benefit the most? And we came up with students that, based off the RTI or based off the iReady data, were 2 grade levels behind, and trying to get them into a small group and get them the information that is causing the gap in the classroom closed. And when we were able to pull them into their small groups, we saw that once we did that, we had to have a pre-assessment and a post-assessment, which Robin helped the math department and the language arts department come up with for what we were specifically targeting at that time. And once we did our RTI process, which was responsive to when we felt students were showing that they were understanding the concept, we saw every single time that almost every single student that went through the small group process grew in that specific skill, and that their iReady data in the next, the winter or the spring or whenever that happened, they also went up on their iReady aggregate data as well.
Yes, and so we were able to rotate those students in and out every 4 to 6 weeks. And we started in November. November 8th is when we finally got it started. And we were able to intervene in small groups with about 157 students between November and the end of the year. And the other interesting thing that happened was when we started being more open to like intervening with small groups, our school counselor started using the behavior screening, and she started pulling in interventions for small groups for social skills based on what the behavior screener showed. So we've really embraced meeting the needs of students at a micro level, I guess you would like to say, and the data supports that it is working. So we're happy to report that to you guys tonight.
I want to say one thing, that what you all have done is, earlier today, Ms. Hardy reached out to me because she knew y'all was coming. She couldn't be here, but she wanted me to sing your all's praises because she knew you all would be modest in what you're presenting to us. And the work that she said you all did in the math portion alone, she was saying how you all worked so good together, and especially the work that Mr. Weinberger did with his group to bring their scores up. If I'm not mistaken, it's like 70% or something, or where there was at. And I'm sure those numbers are skewed from what I know, but she talked about how great you had moved beyond what the COVID level was, and you just brought these kids up. And she just wanted to say how awesome it was how you all worked together to make these kids better. And we're going above and beyond. And it just shows that these math coaches and stuff we're putting out in schools, it works. It really does work. So if everybody buys into it, the teachers and the coaches, it really works because it brings these kids up that we couldn't see before. So we appreciate that.
Thank you.
I think what is so impressive to me is all along as a board, we've made investments in iReady, in our academic coaches, in these targeted programs to help, and then to see them all work together. You know, you're using the iReady data, you're using, you know, the coaches outside of the building and then inside of the building, all while collaborating with each other. It's how it's supposed to work. And it really thrills me. I'm so proud of all of you all. It's just fantastic. I love to hear such positive feedback.
And I love how you're taking the data and honing in and specifically targeting those students. You know, it's not just throw it on the wall and see what sticks. You are really honing in and targeting, and it is working. And I'm just highly impressed. Thank you all for all your hard work.
Yeah, thank you all, because this has been a wonderful
fabulous
presentation, and it's
Very
such a joy to hear it. And you can see it in your face. We're not done. You keep telling us. Yeah, keep bringing
Jared, don't
it
mess
in.
us up, okay? They've done really well.
No pressure.
Well, and
No
I will
pressure,
say,
yeah.
you all, anybody, I mean, I've been here for a long time, and I've always talked about how the end of the year data to me it's just not effective. This data that you use throughout the year before these students get so far behind and you're proactive with it is what gets results. And you all are doing it, and I'm happy. I'm so happy. I'm so proud. So,
Awesome.
I'm proud.
I'm Jared Weinbarger. It's good to see you all. I have the great privilege and moment here to introduce Ms. Celeste. Ms. Celeste is one of another great example of when you combine a very self-driven teacher with the great work that her coach, on-site coach, Ms. Coffey, was able to do along with her team, was able to not only see some really great data for student success, but also for teacher practice. She's a great example of how we are refining those practices in our teachers to really maximize the great things that are happening in our classrooms. So, Ms. Lusk, there she is now. She's walked behind me. Come join us. Ms. Lusk is a member of Boonesboro. She's our Boonesboro team. She's a 5th grade teacher, and she's a newer teacher, which I'm sure she'll probably talk about here as well. So, Ms. Lusk, please.
Thank you. When I was asked to come and speak with you guys, I asked if I could write it down because talking to adults is way scarier than talking to fifth graders. So forgive me as I'm just going to read my spell. So good evening. My name is Danielle Lusk, and as I was thinking of how I was going to introduce myself, I thought to talk to you about how many years I've been teaching, which spurned a bit of a quandary because I taught before having kids and then stayed home for 10 years and then have tiptoed my way back into the classroom here in the county. I was a literacy tutor, I was a parent educator, an option 2 distance learning teacher, and now a 5th grade reading teacher. So what is it, 4 years, 2 years, 1 year? I'm not really sure. I say all that to explain that why I'm coming in front of you, that how my experiences so far in my teaching career have helped me to appreciate the incredible opportunity to work alongside Kristen Coffey and Jared Weinbarger as academic coaches in our school. The 2021-2022 school year was an unprecedented year, which impacted our students immensely. Our students were behind academically, behaviorally, and socially. There were teachers and faculty shortages. We know that the role of a teacher is an important one, and we've heard before that the job description of a teacher is not merely that of teaching content, but also includes counseling students and parents, policing behaviors, nursing wounds, both physically and emotionally, entertaining, and so much more. And when a 4-year, 2-year, or first-year teacher embarks on a typical new school year, let alone one following a global pandemic, we receive a new classroom of students with varying abilities. We inevitably need support. This is the first of many incredible benefits of working with our academic coaches, support. My academic building coach, Kristen Coffey, was the most supportive person I have encountered throughout my teaching career. While much of that has to do with her own incredible personality, the position of academic coach is in and of itself one of support. With the many facets that make up a teacher's job, we just can't be everywhere and do everything alone. And the position of academic coach and the individuals who filled the roles in my own school were invaluable. The accessibility that we had to Kristen and Jared was second to none. A text, email, a call, they showed up without fail every time. Countless times through planning, PLCs, and conversations in the hallway, Kristen was a sounding board to whatever daily trial had arisen. Whether it was how to implement vocabulary in a meaningful way or asking deep probing questions, Kristen was a constant source of support. If she knew the answer, she shared, and if she didn't, she found the answer, oftentimes from Jared. More times than not, the sounding board was all I needed. I would come in with a concern. How do I challenge those high flyers? How do I meet the needs of those strugglers? And I'd talk in circles, and ultimately, Kristen would sit there and she'd nod and she'd smile and she'd listen, and I was able to come up with something on my own. But the many times that I couldn't come up with something on my own, Kristen would direct my thinking with just one question. Her humility in working with me instead of telling me what to do not only solved the issue at hand, but it awarded me the strength, confidence, and ownership of my teaching abilities. I can't count the number of times that I would begin a conversation with, I have an idea. Some days I was met with encouragement to pursue the idea and practical ways to be successful, and other days I was met with challenging questions and insights that I hadn't previously thought of. My academic coach cheered me on to soar and grounded me when I needed to be reined in, all while supporting me in my ultimate success. During our annual end-of-the-year meeting with my principal, Dr. Bolden, I was asked this question, what was the biggest resource to you this year? And without a doubt, our academic coach, Kristen Coffey, was that for me. When asked why, I shared much of what I've already shared with you, but I also said she was safe. I felt safe with her. I didn't feel judged for my weaknesses or like a failure when things were hard. As the school year was wrapping up and we were reflecting on the pluses and deltas of the year, instead of disapproving in the areas where I struggled, Kristen encouraged me and reminded me that we would work harder on those areas next year. I joked with her that meant we had about 75 new areas to work on this coming school year, but I always felt empowered and armed with the tools that I needed to impact my students. Support is not the only thing that our faculty benefited from our academic coaches. Our coaches offered us a wealth of support. As my team worked this year to improve student engagement, we discussed countless times what we could implement in our daily teaching practices that would foster a culture of learning. And no sooner did we begin discussing how to implement reflection opportunities or critical thinking questions, then Kristen would show up at our door with a ring of sentence starters or essential questions or engagement strategies. And when my team was struggling with writing, Jared Weinbarger met with us multiple times and offered countless tips and strategies and outlines to help lead our teaching. One of the standards for 5th grade reading is to compare and contrast different text structures. So I taught my students those 5 different text structures, how a writer may write a piece. One of those is cause and effect. I spoke to my students about how we can think of these as dominoes, where we set up a long line of dominoes and push the first one, watching subsequently the remaining dominoes in line fall. Working with our academic coaches is exactly like this text structure, cause and effect. Because the district created these positions, teachers around the county were supported and encouraged. They were inspired and empowered, and they were given resources and a safe place to train and learn and grow in their own teaching. This led to the next domino effect. The students who entered our classroom were educated, they were loved and nurtured, they were challenged and held to high standards. Our students grew academically, behaviorally, and socially. Our students left our classrooms a couple of weeks ago stronger and more prepared for what they will encounter next. I am ridiculously thankful for the role that I played in that, and I'm also thankful that I didn't have to do it alone. Because of the countless ways that I was supported, encouraged, and cheered on, they didn't just impact me and my teaching in my classroom, it impacted my students as well. And I haven't shared a whole lot about the impact of our students, but I could share how many of my 5th grade students were 2 grade levels behind in reading and are now on grade level, or how many of my students read over 30 books and one read over 50 books this school year. I can share about how my students were able to work through social difficulties. They were able to verbalize their fears and their needs. I saw students come alive as they were given responsibilities, challenged academically, and on average, my students met 138% of their annual year's growth goals on iReady. I could share story after story of the growth of my students and those in our school have had. Could these goals have been reached without an academic coach? Maybe. But I wonder about the mental and emotional health, not to mention the exhaustion level of the teachers working alone would have been. This is a hard job, but it matters, and I'm so grateful I didn't have to do it alone this year. So, while this may sound like a love letter to my academic coaches, I hope that these other 4-year, 2-year, and 1st-year teachers have had the support, encouragement, and empowerment that my academic coaches gave me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, that's hard to follow, right? But no, we do just want to take some time and thank you all for valuing this work. I mean, I think I can speak for all of us. It has been so cool to see the changes that have taken place in buildings this year. And we are so grateful that you value this work and that you're willing to help make us be a thing. So we're willing to take any questions you all might have, or.
I just want to reiterate that we're just happy that you all are getting out and doing it. You're not just going through the motion. You're actually getting out and working with these teachers and making a difference.
Yeah.
And it just shows on our scores. And I think that's what we like to see, is because, Dr. Gillum presents this stuff to us and Dr. Hunter about, want to do this program, we need this much, we need to fund these people. And it's not wasted. You all are actually getting out, working, getting with these teachers and helping them, which is making our students excel. And so it's good to see that you're not just going through the motion.
I think it's also a testament to the awesome building leadership and teachers in our district that are willing to buy in and really go through the motions with us, right? That they're invested in change and growth as well.
Well, and we appreciate obviously what you're doing, but it didn't go unnoticed that this year you didn't just do your job. How many of you filled in on classrooms during absences? Yes, you did quite a bit, and we appreciate your willingness to help in all aspects. So, being a team player, thank you very much.
Thank you all for what you do.
It's good to hear
what's going on. Thank you all.
Thank you all, appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you all.
It's a joy to hear.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
All right, moving on to our action agenda, we have our CFO, Mr. Mark Woods, with their finance report.
Good evening.
Mr. Woods, how are you?
Fine, how are you?
Good.
All right. So as of May 31st, the district ended with a reconciled balance of $78,184,314.76. You can see some of the comparisons there to last year. I do want to note that the general fund balance right there. We still have a lot of payrolls to go. We will cut 11 payrolls in June, so that balance will be trickling down steady until we get money coming in the next school year. And just in comparison to last year, you see there is quite a bit difference, but we've talked about this several times. There was $2 million of SEEK funds that the state shifted out of our general fund and into your special revenue there because they gave it to us in a different form. So that accounts for some of that difference there. We also have a few construction dollars in there that need to be moved. What we do with those, we try to hold them in the general fund as long as we can until we need them because they have to be moved to construction funds so we can earn more interest off of them. Also in that, there's a little bit of timing difference between this time last year. If you remember, we talked about it a few times last year that tax collections were lagging quite a bit. So we've actually collected a little faster this year. So really, we're not up as much as it looks like there. It's more or less just timing issues and some different ways that funding came in. Of the reconciled balance, the district has $5,740,990.65 in investments. Those rates range from 0.15% to 0.55%. In your packet, you also had your balance sheet and your revenue and expense report. I went through there just to make sure that through May, we were still on target with all of our budgets and everything. Everything looks good. Collections look good. So any questions on the finance report?
If you don't have any questions, can I have a motion to approve the monthly financial report as presented?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Brock,
Second.
second by Ms. Coyle. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on to 7B, which is to approve Section 125 plan.
All right, so every year in order to continue our Section 125, some of you all may know it as cafeteria plan. It's the additional offerings that employees are allowed to pick up. Many of them are, they get benefits of being able to pay for them pre-tax. So in order to continue that plan, we have to sign our new agreement every year and make sure we're in compliance with IRS regulations. This allows us to continue that, and American Fidelity does all of our compliance checks.
Does anyone have any questions? Can I have a motion to approve the Madison County Board of Education Section 125 plan with American Fidelity and authorize Mark Woods to electronically sign the plan document on behalf of the district?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Coyle,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Brock. All those in favor? Aye. All right, next up is 7C, which is to set our pay date schedule.
It's the same thing we do every year, so we have to bring it before the board, and you all set the dates that all of our employees get paid on. So this is very typical. We have a few dates in there, and I tried to highlight those for you so you could see them when they're a little different, because we typically pay on the 1st and the 16th. Those, when we have those, it will either be because of a weekend or a holiday, which we have no control over. So we always try to make sure that we pay all of our employees as fast as possible and as close to the 1st and 16th as possible. But we do have to live within the weekend rules and the holiday rules on those.
Does anyone have any questions? Can I have a motion to set the pay date schedule as presented?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Cobb,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Burford. All those in favor? Aye. And next up is 7D, is to designate the fiscal year 23 fund balances.
So what we're asking for in this motion is to allow me to designate fund balances. You know, it takes a little while to get all these reconciled out. By the time we will report an initial to number to KDE by July 25th. Books will still stay open into, usually it's about November by the time we finish up the audit. So this allows me to go in there and restrict funds and do things of that nature on your behalf so that we don't have to bring every item up for individual motion.
Does anyone have any questions? Can I have a motion to authorize the Chief Financial Officer to designate 2021-2022 fund balances for site-based carryover, sick leave restriction, funds obligated for purchases, future personnel expenditures, facility maintenance, capital projects, property costs, or other items as needed.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Brock,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Burford. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Next up is to uncommit the 2021-2022 funds.
So at the end of last year, you all committed and restricted funds. You did a motion so we could do that, and then I presented all those items to you in a final report. This allows for me to take and move those funds into general fund to be spent as you all designated them.
Any questions? Can I have a motion to authorize Chief Financial Officer to uncommit the 2021-2022 funds for operating expenses, special projects, and for capital projects as needed?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Cobb,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Brock. All those in favor? Aye. Next up is to approve the pledge of collateral agreement.
All right, these two agreements are with the two banks that we have CDs. Well, actually, with First Trust, theirs is below the FDIC level, that CD, so we don't have to have collateral pledged. We have, one of these is CDs, the other is where our student activity fund, so all the school money, is with Whitaker Bank. Our funds exceed the FDIC insurance limit. So what we have to do each year is we have to go in, we have to do a collateral agreement with them. And they are pledging assets on our behalf in government securities. And that protects us and protects our funds should there be a failure of a bank or anything like that. So that is the agreement with the banks to get them to pledge collateral on our behalf to cover our funds.
Any questions? Can I have a motion to approve the pledge of collateral agreement with Fort Bank and the pledge of collateral agreement with Whitaker Bank as presented?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Coyle,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Brock. All those in favor? Aye. Next up is to approve an increment in extra duty pay for fiscal year #23.
All right, so, we brought the salary schedules to you all at the last meeting. This is the extra duty increments and everything. We haven't done anything with these in a few years, so we went in and just did an incremental increase on these. We looked at a few positions that may have been a little bit low. You notice there was some in red. All the ones in red are items that we are eliminating. So we no longer have those positions or have no need for those increments, so we are eliminating those from the salary schedules. I did highlight anything that had a major change for you so that you could see in there. And that's basically just to get those and to go through and adjust those, because it has been, I think it's been 3 years since we did any adjustments on those increments. A lot of them are coaching stipends and other things like that.
Anybody have any questions? If no questions, can I have a motion to approve the classified and certified increment and certified extra duty pay for fiscal year '23 as presented?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Cobb,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Brock. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you, Mr. Woods.
Thank you.
Next up is 7H, which is to approve the continuation purchase of student accident insurance. I think we have Mr. Roberts. How you doing this evening?
Well, thank you all for having me. Let me pass out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have, I'm good.
Thank you all for allowing me to be here tonight on this beautiful night. Every year, over the past 5 years, we're averaging about 150 student accident claims per year. Digging through the data, the 4 biggest drivers of those claims is, the first one is football. Not a surprise, 20% of your claims are coming from football. The second biggest driver is actually school activity claims, which is recess, PE. The policy that you all provide your students covers for all school-sponsored, school-supervised activities. So a lot of people think, okay, all of our claims are coming from athletics, whereas not the case. We work with 150 school districts in Kentucky. You all are right in line with everybody else. The school activity claims are always very high. And then the next would be basketball, and then the last would be soccer. But the plan that you all have covers, it eliminates the need for camp coverage, field trip, and something else that provides coverage for is your co-op plans. So your students that are going to work, a lot of times we'll provide certificates. Employers in your community will ask for certificates, and we can provide showing that they have coverage, and then they'll allow those students to work for those businesses. So we're fortunate from where we do work with so many school districts, we have access to all the key players in the student accident space. So every year we take your account to the market to make sure that we're getting the very best coverage and the best prices for the students in Madison County and for you all as well. So this year we went to the market and received 3 quotes, including one alternative quote that I wanted to share with you. So we have the renewal from Hartford, which is the best price, which is actually flat from expiring at $235,046. Very happy with that. Very few things tied to healthcare staying flat. So student accident is tied to healthcare, so the fact that we're able to offer another flat renewal, we're very pleased with. The other 2 quotes, Zurich and Axis, came in at $244,000 and $245,000. So if you want to keep everything the same, the best price that we have is the renewal from Hartford at $235,000. Sorting through your data, we noticed that about 30 claims per year. The plan that you currently have goes up to $7.5 million, and the only limit is on physical therapy, which is capped at $1,000. So we noticed that about 30 claims per year are piercing the $1,000. So, and I had back surgery this year. It used to be that a physical therapy visit, if you got 10 visits, that'd be about $1,000, which is a very rich benefit. Well, everything in healthcare is going up. So physical therapy is a little bit more expensive. So we're just seeing more and more students piercing that $1,000 limit. So we wanted to provide you all an option. So if you did choose to go to a $2,000 limit, the price would be $257,246. But that's just an option that we want to make sure we provided to you all.
And that's a physical therapist that you all
So we're going to.
recommend, or is it anyone?
It's anyone. It's anyone. So any student that were to get injured, a pitcher were to tear their shoulder up, need Tommy John surgery, which is a popular one.
Right.
Sometimes it takes more than 10 visits. An ACL takes more than 10 visits. So we're just offering that. So it's any physical, that's a great question. Any physical therapist that you go to is going to provide up to $2,000 limit.
And you said this does include camps, like if they went to camp, off camp, like away from Southern or Central or any of our members?
Yes,
Like
as
they
long as
drove
it's a
somewhere.
school-sponsored, school-supervised activity. So if the Madison Central, Madison Southern baseball teams were to go to Florida
Daytona or
Florida for a
that
baseball
schedule.
trip.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest claims we ever had was in Fayette County on a baseball trip. So as long as it's school-sponsored, school-supervised activity, we're going to provide coverage. Worldwide, as things open back up, we've noticed more and more people are starting to travel overseas again. If you all have students that are traveling overseas, we can provide coverage worldwide. The only thing that we ask for is that you let us know if you do have a trip going to wherever you're going. We just want to be prepared. But we do provide coverage anywhere in the world.
Any other questions?
No. Do you all have opinion on which one you want?
So if a student limits out at $1,000, then their private insurance typically picks up?
So private insurance pays first. If there's
Oh,
no
okay.
private insurance, then we'll step up and become primary. Or if there's a really high deductible, we'll step in and fill those gaps.
Okay.
But if there's $1,000 that the parents maybe only had a $200 or $300 limit, we step in, we pay the $1,000. Anything additional to that can be put on the parents.
Okay.
So this would just be an extra layer of protection if you all chose to do so.
So you fill out the form if there's an accident, and then is this the K in it?
K&K insurance.
K&K, that's what it is.
We like K&K Of the 150 schools that we represent, we probably have 120 to 125 with K&K.
Right.
They've created these networks throughout the state. We'll identify your top providers like University of Kentucky, Central Baptist, and then we'll negotiate discounts to where if a Madison County student were to get injured, it's less expensive than if you and I were to go. And K&K has created these unbelievable PPO networks. We've actually saved over 700,000 over the past couple of years just in those network savings. So K&K is the TPA, the people that pay claims, and they're the ones that have set up those discounts. Where Dad started working with K&K over 35 years ago.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Is there someone at the school that can help the parents navigate this? Because when my daughter tore her ACL, we were told, fill out this form, and that was it.
There should be, everything should have a tips for handling claims, and that should go to every parent. And that walks you through step by step, and then anybody.
Okay, I did not get that.
Okay, all right, we can make sure that that's being
Yeah.
passed out better, and we can provide that and just make sure that that's, because that really streamlines the
I
process.
just am asking because I wasn't sure if I should have called a phone number to K&K or, you know.
Yeah,
I was
call,
told, fill out this form and that's all.
Yeah.
Go to your doctor.
yeah,
So
call.
when
Oh, go ahead. There are all
So,
kinds of questions.
well, so when a child gets hurt, it is the parent's responsibility to file this claim, or does it come back to the school?
The school has to, it has to show that there's supervision. So if that goes along with the fact that it's school sponsored, school supervised. So somebody at the school has to sign off on it. And then the parent has some responsibility to send in the claim form and collect the bills from the hospital and provider.
Yeah, like the principal or the coach or
Yes.
someone like that.
Yeah.
So, but I'm just trying to see if I understand it correctly. So my kid gets hurt, my insurance pays for their physical therapy. If the child's not insured, we pay up to the $1,000
Yes.
limit. So I guess my question is, as a district, and I don't know if you can answer this or not, Mr. Gillum, do we get complaints because we don't have enough physical therapy coverage? I mean, do you all hear complaints from parents?
We do not.
Then,
We're
I
not
mean,
aware
I'd
of
hate
it.
to
then I
see
think that
parents
answers your
out
question.
any money.
Yeah.
Okay.
If
I'd
you're
hate
getting,
to
like,
see
what this
parents
is
have to be
for
out
is if
money.
you are getting the complaints that, hey, my $1,000 has reached, because when we see that there's 30 on average hitting it,
Right.
then
Yeah.
that's when I wanted to provide an option. But if you're not getting those calls, I think you're in good shape where you are.
And when you say most districts have the 1,000?
Yes.
Pretty standard.
Yes. We've only recently started offering a higher limit just because we're seeing the costs go up so much more across the country. But yes, if you're not getting those calls, then I recommend staying where you are.
And part of that, having our trainers, working with a lot of our athletes, they work through a lot of those therapy issues as well. So,
Yeah. It's a big benefit that you
So we
all are
get some
providing that a lot of districts do not have. They don't have trainers to go to maybe see the last 5 or 6 visits. They have to go to the physical therapy office.
Well, don't we only have one trainer, one athletic trainer?
One at
We-
each high school, yes.
One at each
Okay,
school.
so one at each high school. Okay.
So you feel we're pretty decently covered?
I feel the $1,000 on that is good,
Good.
yes. I mean, I feel that we're adequate there.
Yeah.
So is there option, I know we're renewing for a year, but if we see an uptick, can we revisit this?
Yes.
At any point?
Yes, if you all decide, start hearing, getting those calls and want that option, we can modify the plan. We can just do a rider on the plan as of that date
Perfect.
and make that adjustment. Just let me know.
Any other questions? Everybody's good? All right, can I have a motion to approve the continuation purchase of the student accident insurance with Hartford Insurance at $235,046.40?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Brock,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Cobb. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Wright.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for offering that.
Yes.
Of course. Thank you.
And we'll come back if we start seeing it.
And I do think we need some follow-up on how to handle these claims with maybe the trainer and the coaches that when they, something. Yeah. Yeah. This has been 5 years ago, but still.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is to approve the continuation purchase of our general liability, property, workers' comp, fleet, and pollution insurance. Mr. Livingston, how are you doing tonight?
Good evening. I'm doing well, thank you. As you all are obviously aware of, we took the district out to the marketplace this year. On the property and liability side, there's still really only three players. There's Liberty Mutual, EMC, and WSI. And Liberty still writes about 140 districts. I believe EMC writes around 20, 22, and then WSI writes maybe 5 or 6. And then the rest are probably self-insured in those aspects. So we also went to the work comp market as well and submitted it to KEME and Liberty Mutual, Encova, ClearPath, and AmTrust. And I believe you all may have gotten copies of what I'm looking at here. So that kind of gives you an idea of who responded and what their premiums were on the response. The good thing on that for the district this year, you have gone from a 1.06 experience mod, and July 1, you will be a 0.96, which 2 years ago, well, last year, you were 1.17. So probably about late July, mid-August, we'll go back and do a projection of what you'll see in 23, 24, and start looking at claims again, determining if we can get some claims closed out to help drop that mod, get some reserves knocked off, to try to drop that experience mod even further for you, because as we talked about before, even as your payroll grows, the only way to really control and hold your work comp cost in check is through your experience mod. So I just want to kind of, I guess, get a little feedback and answer questions, because there's a lot of things I could cover that you might say, well, that's not our question. So I'd like for you all to ask me questions on the information you've been presented, and then if there's anything else that I think that I have available that's important, then I'd be willing to share that with you.
So just looking through this, our workers' comp, so we was at 575, 870, and then the new quotes are 498 and 481.
That's correct, yes, sir. Yeah, and one thing about KEME, Liberty Mutual is a very, very good company, but they've potentially been hot and cold on workers' comp. They don't always stay in the marketplace. And KEME has been in the marketplace since Kisbet went away. And, you know, they took the Kisbet program in, ran off all those claims revenue neutral, provided, I think, $358,000 of a distribution back of the money that you had paid in originally. The dividends that they have paid you all through the years total up almost $67,000. So they're a mutual company. Every few years, they go back and they look at a specific year, determine if there's a profit, and then the percentage of that profit they disperse among their clients. So even though KEME is a little bit more, the things that they've done, you can put a money value to it because you can actually see it. And you know, if I was in your shoes, I would be looking to stay with KEME.
But also, is it kind of accurate that unless we do everything else with Liberty, that price is probably
They have not told us it's monoline. So, or that it's part of the package, that you can purchase it monoline. They have not said you can't purchase it monoline.
So your recommendation is to stay with KEME?
Based on what they've done for the district and where they've been, they've also, since, you've been with KEME since 2013, and they've visited on 83 occasions since 2013 as well, to do inspections, I believe they still do your CPR training every year for staff, so.
They've done a significant number of trainings which have helped us reduce that mod. Yes.
feel like Mr. Pop's got something to
We're all just
say.
looking at Lori.
Yeah.
I get that on fiscal court. Everybody looks at me when we're talking about insurance, and I'm like, you can ask, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with the Kenny, definitely. I'm not sure I would take it to the bank that Liberty would honor this price if we go back to them and say, we only want the comp, we don't want
Okay.
the rest of it. They may,
Right.
they may not. So I think Kenny definitely, I think the word comp's pretty self-explanatory. They do a good job. So I think that piece is easy.
On the property and liability side, we provided multiple proposals. WSI did not respond. I think the size of Madison County kind of scares them a little bit at this point. But EMC did respond, and Liberty did respond. We put together multiple options and showed some higher deductible options as well, because you've not had a property claim since 2016-17, and you have a $10,000 deductible. And the idea that I use is, if you have a home and it's $200,000, more than likely your deductible is going to be $2,000, $2,500. It's going to be higher on wind and hail. And so the fact that you're insuring hundreds of millions of dollars of property with a $10,000 deductible, if you can realize those savings and you've not been having losses, it's a good idea to look at that deductible and see if you're willing to take a little more skin in the game, a little more risk to save those premium dollars. So like I said, you haven't had a loss on the property side since 2016-17. One other thing that affects this year, Madison County has been on an appraisal value. So essentially, there was an appraisal done in, I think it was 2016, 2017. And with KDE, you can have your property, specific properties, high schools, middle schools, elementary schools, central office, transportation garage, sheds. I don't know why they say sheds. That just doesn't make any sense. And VOTEC. You can have those properties on an appraisal value of replacement cost, not a market value of what it would sell for, but an appraisal value of market cost, or you can insure it at the KDE rate. And what we found back then and through the consecutive years is that it saved you a good bit of money by doing that, by doing the appraisal value as opposed to the KDE rate. Over the last 3 years, we've seen the acceleration of construction costs. And I don't know if you all have heard that up in Scott County, we opened a bid for a new high school, and it was $458 a square foot. I mean, that is insane. So we, along with discussing with the companies and the blanket value limit, the companies pretty much said, we need to go, you've got to take it to at least KDE rate, because your blanket values are going to be too low for what construction costs are happening. And so it actually takes your blanket building and contents from 384 million. With Liberty, you'll see a difference in the two numbers between Liberty and EMC. And the reason is Liberty's at 584 million, EMC is 626 million. Liberty takes the number that you give us for the contents amount. With EMC, they take an automatic 15% minimum on contents. So that's why you see the difference there. Is Liberty's using the number that we were provided by the district for all the values of contents and all the buildings applied through the KDE rate. EMC is using the 15% contents cost. So that's why you see it on there. So we had to increase that. We also went and did the $10,000 deductible, the $25,000 deductible, and I'm sure you've seen all the proposals and know where they are. So I am open to questions about any of the specific quotes that you have in front of you, any of the options.
I guess my question is, I don't want to sound silly, but is our two new properties, are they still in a construction, I guess, contract,
received-
or will they move into this once they're completed?
Once you get your occupancy certificate, they will move into this, but until that time, they'll be under a builder's risk.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
what I was wondering.
I'll just kind of, when KDE put out their numbers this year, it was anywhere from 15 to 35% increase in the per square foot cost. So, this EMC limit of insurance is $200 million more dollars than what we are currently insured for. Without getting into all the details, basically, we can go to EMC with a $25,000 deductible, a $10 million umbrella, $200 million more dollars in property values for about $3,000 more dollars than what we paid last year.
Seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
With Liberty would cost us a couple $100,000 more.
And on the umbrella, that's something that we've offered everybody this year was the 10 million because of lawsuits. And EMC kind of shares some limits on their aggregate. And so if you went through your aggregate, if you burned through that line of coverage, your umbrella, provided you had limits left on your umbrella, would drop down and be primary and start picking up those claims if you had that issue as well. So they did the extra expense, the ordinance and law, all those required coverages. They endorsed this policy with the exact limits required by KDE, and there are no, I just lost the word.
They didn't do the.
Margin clause. Yes, there's no margin clause on any of the buildings. Although there are, protection class 9, they did remove the margin clause as well.
I didn't see it in there, so I figured
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
you worked your magic.
Yeah.
So are we wanting the 10,000 property deductible or the 25?
I would recommend the 25. I think David probably agrees with that. The cost savings justifies it in my mind.
Is Dr. Gillum okay with that?
Yeah, I think that's a wise thing, because you're looking at about 40, almost 45,000 between the two. So in order to make up that $15,000 difference, we'd have to have 3 claims in a year, and we haven't had a claim since 2016. And again, you're talking about big claims, I mean, it's, we're not talking about a broken window here. It's significant damage. So the odds of, 3 of those, anything less than 3, we're making, it's a better deal. Anything over 3, we're losing, but I think our odds are with us.
On another quick note too, I know Ms. Cobb met our team during the whole process of interviews and met Elizabeth Black. She came in, I think it was last week, and met with Mr. Gillum, Mr. Neely, and starting to get set up for training during the summer and inspections and stuff like that. So she'll be in and out around the schools doing those things through the summertime.
And that's the 1,217,000.
Yeah,
I have so many pages over
Yeah.
here, sir. that-
Well, I'm sitting here scrolling.
$10 million, $10
Yes.
million umbrella.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sitting here.
I've got all the
scrolling back and
options
forth,
over
back
here in
and
front of me,
Yeah,
so.
I'm trying
Well,
to
and
keep
thank
up
you
with
for
you.
taking it out and
Yes, ma'am.
giving us this detail. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah, I got it.
And then I think the pollution is what it is.
And cyber, your cyber actually doesn't renew until August 20th. I believe it's 20th or 21st. And right now, the cyber companies are not releasing proposals more than 30 days out. And what we're seeing from cyber, and I'm sure you're seeing it too, Ms. Cobb, is it's
not pretty.
tough. And I think that the districts need to start pushing KDE to get things, help you get things in place that the cyber carriers are requiring. We've tried to have conversations with them, and for better or worse, I think they just view us as vendors. And I told them, I said, I'm not trying to sell KDE anything. I'm trying to give schools options. If you take it, that's fine. If you don't take it, that's fine too. whichever way you want to go with the coverage, but I want to be able to provide you the options. And with the direction we're going in with the marketplace, next year, there will not be options available if there's not MFA across the system, endpoint detection, all kinds of things that Joe Davis talked about last year.
I
So,
remember that.
Yeah. Right now, we only have one carrier that will write if you do not have MFA.
And it's not cheap.
And it's
Right.
not cheap.
And that's right.
It is not cheap. And we have some schools that say, we're good, and that's okay. It just scares me to death.
And then the other thing we have is the pollution.
Yeah. The pollution was just a nominal difference on that.
Anybody have any questions on that? Any other? You good? All right, can I have a motion to approve the continuation purchase of the insurance package with Houchins Insurance Group that includes, I'm going to say the workers' comp with KEMI at $498,123.31, and the liability property fleet umbrella with EMC with the $25,000 deductible at $1,217,008, and a pollution insurance with Chubb at $16,085.51. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Brock,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Cobb. All those in favor? Aye. All right.
Thank you all.
sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Livingston.
That was a lot. All right, next up is 7J, which is to cancel the June 23rd meeting. I don't think we have anything coming up.
It's all tonight.
Yeah. So can I have a motion to cancel the June 23rd, 2022 meeting?
So
So moved. I'll second.
Motion by Ms. Cobb, second by Ms. Brock. All those in favor? Aye. All right. All right, this one's a big one too. 7K, which is to acknowledge the positions resulting from management and control of the State Area Technical Center. Dr. Gillum, would you like to?
Yeah, sure. So this is just, when we decided to request management and control of Kentucky Tech, we do then, as part of our agreement, assume all of the positions that they currently have there for the first year at least, and then we can do some other things beyond that. But we also get their budget in order to cover these in year one. So these are the current positions that we have there.
Anyone have any questions? Very good. All right, you'll have to give me a minute on this one. Motion to acknowledge the following positions resulting from management and control of the State Area Technical Center. 1, Kentucky Tech Principal, which will be the Ignite Academy Director, 235 days. 1 Welding Instructor, 210 days. 1 Engineering Instructor, 187 days. 1 Marketing Instructor, 187 days. 1 Electricity Instructor, 187 days. 1 Machine Tool Technology Instructor, 187 days. 1 Automotive Technology Instructor, 187 days. 1 Carpentry Instructor, 187 days. 2 Health Science Instructors, 187 days. 2 Business Education Instructors, 187 days. 1 Custodian, 246 days. And 1 Secretary General Aide at 185 days. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Ms. Burford,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Cobb. All those in favor? Aye. All right, next up is 7L, which is to create and ratify a 1 general aid position.
Okay, the general aid, this general aid position, for our Ignite Academies, each one of them needs a general office aide, answer the phone, do those secretarial types of things. Ignite North is the one created through the takeover of Kentucky Tech. Ignite South, we will need to create one for that.
Anybody have any questions? Can I have a motion to create and ratify a 1 general aid position for the Ignite Academy South Campus?
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion by Ms. Cool, second by Ms. Brock. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next up is 7M, which is to reassign the career counselor positions at both Ignite Academies and approve the revised job description. Dr. Gillard, anything?
Yes, just what it says here. Looking at our structures there and given everything after we've met with KDE and a variety of things, I feel that it's more efficient if we just do it this way and have a person fully under the certified scale, and with a counselor / and/or an administrative degree to be, or certification to be able to be responsible there on those campuses. So it'd be one at each one. The positions are already created. This just kind of shifts some of their duties and the scale that they're paid off of.
Anyone have any questions?
So they're basically going to oversee to some degree the building and work to help these students succeed, for lack of a better
Yes,
word.
absolutely.
Anything else? Can I have a motion to reassign the career counselor positions at Ignite Academy North Campus and Ignite Academy South Campus to the Dean of Students and approve the revised job description?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Ms. Burford,
Second.
second by Ms. Brock. All those in favor? Aye. Next up is 7N, is to create and ratify a Director of Maintenance position and approve the job description.
All right, so as we've had some retirements and some different things, shifting duties around, this is a creation of a position because we currently do not have a certified director of maintenance position that's on our books. We did have in years past, but we eliminated that, and now we'd like to bring it back, but it's not, be very clear, it is not an additional administrative person at the director level by any stretch. Because if you'll look down under item Q in just a moment, I'm recommending that we eliminate two positions, one of which is currently staffed. So this would be same thing, just trying to move some duties around as we've had some retirements. So I'll take any questions if you have them, but that's really all it is. No additional administrative people at the director level or coordinator level or any other supervisory level in this district.
Any questions? Very good. Can I have a motion to create and ratify a Director of Maintenance position and approve the job description?
So move.
Motion by Ms. Cool,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Burford. All those in favor? Aye. Next up is 7O, which is to create and ratify a MTSS School Counseling Services Coordinator and approve the job description.
Now, this one is a new position, okay? I will be clear on that one. This one is, and what makes it new, it is a position that we would like to fund with ESSER funds, okay? And it will address the mental health and the counseling services that we provide our students. As we did our strategic planning event, mental health was the thing that came to the surface most definitely. We're hearing it from our schools, and so I sat down with our school psychologist team, sat down with several of our principals. We talked through what can we do. We would love to be able to put mental health counselor in every school. But there's simply, first of all, there's not enough funds, but more importantly, there's not enough qualified people out there to be able to find them and put them in schools. So we have the multi-tiered, the MTSS work, multi-tiered systems of support. It's very good work. It provides our people the structures to be able to deal with a lot of things, but particularly social, emotional, and mental health kind of things. And then coordinates with outside mental health agencies is what this individual would do. Oftentimes, a counselor would have, may have a student that has some severe, mental health issues going on that are beyond what the counselor can deal with at the time or is capable of handling. The student needs additional support. And so this is an individual that help that counselor find that support, coordinate that support, get that in there when they're, when it's at the end of the day on a Friday afternoon and we're looking for a place for, a child to get some help. So that's the type of position.
Could give help, Dr. Gillen?
They could give some,
More help.
but more than that, they will work, they will have direct contact with the mental health providers. So one of the things that we run into is, mental health providers are very busy. And they get calls from different people wanting different things. Having a go-to person that has that relationship, has those structures in place, can really streamline that ability to find and locate the services that kids need on a very quick basis. So this, again, is in direct response to those mental health pieces, and this is the best idea we can come up with. Everyone seems to think that this will be a huge benefit to our kids for certain, but as well to our counselors. So we've got the ESSER funds there, and this is one of the things that we can spend it on. And
I think it's, if I understand right, we're creating a point of contact for our counselors, our teachers, whomever, and our students and parents who need help. And just don't, this particular person is going to play point in terms of helping our kids get the help they need.
So who hires this person?
This one goes under, look at the job description there. It's on the.
Chief academic.
It's on that because it is under the, it will work alongside the special ed director.
Oh,
as part of
okay.
that, yeah. And the special ed director because they're school psych services. So they'll be on that same team with their school psych services, yeah, so.
Sort of similar to our coaches, but
Yeah, that's
focusing
what- yeah.
on
Mental health.
mental
Yeah.
health.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just a person that our counselors can reach out to and get help. And if they find that they need more help, they've got the resources to go out and get outside help
I
to
think
come
this is
in.
fabulous. I wish we
Yeah.
could do more.
Yeah, I wish we could hire a
Dr.
dozen of
Gillum,
them,
do
but-
you mind if we revisit this in like 6 months and get a report on how it's working? and
Absolutely.
Is it working well? And to give us some information that this is a positive thing and we could possibly add more in the future if we get the money?
Sure, absolutely.
Come in and give a presentation.
Yeah. I'd be
Yes,
glad to.
that would be lovely.
That'd be nice.
do.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Can I have a motion to create and ratify a MTSS School Counseling Services Coordinator using ESSER funds and approve the job description?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Cobb,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Burford. All those in favor? All right. Next up is 7P, which is to combine the position of head driver trainer and one relief bus driver position and approve the job description. So, yes, my computer just went blank, so let me pull it back up.
Mine did too.
Did yours flash as well?
We've had a glitch.
All right, we'll get it
It's
here.
back up.
Okay, come on now. There we go. All right, so what we're looking at here, this is really, as much as anything, just to kind of do some cleanup, okay? For years, in fact, you see this thing on here, the title of this position is bus garage scheduler / driver trainer. I believe when I read the 40 years that Pat Hoskins served us, one of her duties was scheduler, and also she's done a lot of training as well. But we've had position in place of head driver trainer, and then a scheduler / secretary type piece that has scheduled routes and done all these things. The problem is they're basically 0.5 position, and a 0.5 is a full-time relief driver, but full-time relief driver is only 4 hours a day. So we've run into a lot of issues with, not big issues, but it's difficult because a relief driver starts at the beginning of the day, and then they're at the end of the day, and there's more than 4 hours in between. And so what this does is this really combines it all into one. We have one individual, and one individual's been doing this we have an individual in there now, but we have one prior to as well. So they've been doing this position already, but we've run into some overtime issues because of timing issues, and then we've also, once that happens, then we can run into rate of pay issues because these two positions are paid a little different in terms of salary. So what we've done is we've pulled this together, we've made it one position. It's an individual that our transportation folks can count on to be in that role, and as well, it sets a consistent pay rate, and that way, and as well, one of the big benefits is we've structured the job description such that we're pretty clear on, there's no need for overtime here. Let's work a schedule. It's I think we refer to it as an intermittent schedule, so that they would be able to, they know there's going to be gaps in the day. work your hours, work your day, and then at the end of the day, get your salary, go home. So that's where we are. So I'd recommend that we combine those two positions. Nothing new here, really just cleanup.
I feel like it kind of streamlines things.
Any other questions, comments? Can I have a motion to combine the position of head driver trainer and one relief bus driver position to create a bus garage scheduler driver trainer position and approve the job description?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Brock,
Second.
second by Ms. Cole. All those in favor? Aye. 7Q, which is to eliminate two positions. I think Dr. Gillum spoke on this earlier.
Made reference to that, eliminating one director position, create the maintenance, we'll shift folks over, reassign. So that's even the other position as coordinator of ELL and migrant services. We rolled that one a couple of years ago under the, we combined that one with another one, haven't filled it since then, just didn't take action to eliminate. So we'll go ahead and take action to eliminate. So it's not sitting on our books. So.
Any questions, comments? Can I have a motion to eliminate the Director of Instructional Technology position and to eliminate the Coordinator of ELL and Migrant Services?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Cobb,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Brock. All those in favor? Aye. Next up is 7R, which is to approve an agreement with ACT. I think this will provide the ACT to all sophomores and juniors for the October fall administration. And the total for the ACT PO is $71,440 based on the 1,880 10th and 11th grade students. Anything else? All right. Can I have a motion to approve the purchase order for the ACT?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Brock,
Second.
second by Ms. Cole. All those in favor? Aye. And next to is Mr. Ben Burnett. Approve the antivirus and endpoint disaster recovery software.
Yes, so as I walk up through here, I'll try to be really quick. Mr. Livingston was talking about our cybersecurity policy, and he was asking that, we try to push KDE to get some of those things in place that we need. This is actually a part of not only our cybersecurity recommendations, but it's something that KDE is going to be using us as a pilot for. And so we'll just start off by saying, what is Palo Alto? Palo Alto is a leading cybersecurity vendor. We'll just say that. They make all kinds of tools. They make things from basic ping tools to what we're purchasing to big firewalls, all kinds of things. The question really becomes, number one, what started all of this, and then what could come out of this? And so what started all of this was our cybersecurity insurance provider came back and they said, hey, we don't know that you're insurable based on some of the things that you put into some of your questionnaires that we've given you. And so we talked about it and we said, okay, why, what's going on? And some of the things that, as Mr. Livingston pointed out, some of those things are KDE things that they would have to implement. Some of the things are things that we had control over on our side. And so we fixed a few of those. And then EDR is one of the things that we'll be looking at next. And so I guess the question really becomes, what is EDR? EDR is just, it's endpoint disaster recovery or response. It just depends on how you want to call it. It's a fancy way to say that if something happens in our district, malware, ransomware, viruses, things like that, is a tool that helps us respond to that incident. And so it gives us not just antivirus power. An antivirus, it detects the virus, it stops it, life is good. It gives us that ability, but it also gives us the ability to look into what started the incident in the first place. So let's say my computer gets infected with malware. This gives me the ability to say, hey, it was this file, it was this whatever, and then what it does is it watches for that in the future. So not only do we find out how it got in, we can mitigate it better. There's a whole bunch of things that it could help us with. Say we got breached and our data was put out there for the world to see. We could find out ways to make sure not only that it doesn't happen again, but to see how it happened in the first place. And so, is it just an antivirus? No, it's an AI-driven platform that looks at
traffic patterns. It looks at all kinds of nerdy stuff. I won't bore you with those details. But, yeah, you're welcome. But one of the things that we're also purchasing that I want to make sure we point out is we're not just purchasing a supplement to antivirus, but we're purchasing what's called a SaaS solution. That is a way to look into things like our Google Drive platform, Office 365, which we do still have in the district. And what it does is it looks for things like PII data, so personally identifiable information. It looks for, like we ran it, for instance, and someone had shared a social security number with an outside group. It doesn't let us see the social security number, but it lets us see that that happened. And so there were always the nightmare stories when Office 365 was first implemented. I've been around that long, where somebody would get a list of student identifiable information and they'd share it with the world. Well, this gives us the ability to not only see that, but I can actually stop that with a mouse click. And so the solution that we are presenting to you tonight gives us lots of functionality, not just with viruses, but it gives us the ability to protect our students' data, which is very important. Now, how do we choose what we chose? We have looked at the top companies in the space. We wanted to make sure that we had a solution that was both reliable and innovative, because if you have something that's reliable, that's great, but if it's not innovative, it's not going to catch the next thing coming down the pipe. We wanted to make sure that we had something that was going to catch the future issues that we could see before we even knew about them, and catch the stuff that we know is out there and do it well. We wanted to look and make sure that this wasn't just something we're pulling out of the air, but other people use it too. And so we looked at our neighbors. EKU, UK, Moorhead, you list a university in Kentucky, they probably use some instance of Palo Alto, maybe not exactly what we're purchasing, but something. If you look at, there are plenty of 911 centers that use exactly what we're purchasing for just exactly what we're going to do with it. We wanted to make sure that it was a product that wouldn't slow down our current computer systems, because right now we have McAfee, which is an antivirus. One of the issues we find with McAfee, though, is that it uses 60 to 70% of your system resources, right? Your RAM, basically your thinking power on your computer. Palo uses 10, 15 from our test and what we saw. We wanted to make sure that we looked at cost comparison, because we know that's very important, especially in this day and age with the raises and all the things. We want to make sure that we were being as good as stewards with our funds as possible. And so we looked at, I believe it was 7 different quotes total, but I could be wrong about that. What we found was Palo Alto came in at the same price point or lower than most of those competitors. And so we were actually pleasantly surprised by that, because from our understanding, we thought Palo was the best. And then lastly, we looked at ease of use, because we don't want to be in panic mode. We are getting ransomware, something's happening, and have to try to refigure out how to use this really complicated product. And so we wanted something that my tech staff could use, be trained on easily, and then support well. And so after looking at all of that, Palo Alto was the product that we chose based on all those criteria. It ended up being a total of $74,531.80. And that is what we present to you tonight for acceptance for our EDR solution.
So I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So say that a teacher puts the social security number out in an email that goes outside the school system. That's what you referred to a while ago, right?
So what we're talking about more so is our Google Drive platform. So if they have a document that has some of that information stored, that's what I can mitigate.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that happened.
Mhm.
What happens next? Do you get an automatic thing that pops up?
I do. Yep.
Okay, so like an email, and then you're able to like go into that and see what it is, or you contact them and they tell you? How's that work?
Yeah, so what it does is it gives me an alert. I can log in, see what the alert consists of. I can actually see a redacted version of that document. And so it takes away, even for me, some of that PII data. It takes away the social security number itself, but it tells me that this is a social security number based on the format. And then it says, to summarize, would you like to mitigate? And if I say yes, it takes that document and it unshares it with everyone.
Nice.
Now, I can do that and notify the person as I do so. I can do that and not notify the person. we actually did catch, like I said, we caught one of those when we ran the report. It wasn't anything, it turns out it was somebody's tax information that they'd shared with an outside source, which was a person that they trusted. But we contacted the person as a training opportunity. Hey, you know, this is happening. We want to let you know. It's probably not a great idea to have out there. And so it turns out that once we got to check on that, not only could we find out what was going on, but we could also train the person at the same time.
So you do have that option and know exactly who put that out there
Yes, ma'am.
and the option whether you need to consult with them or not. So,
Yeah.
So I have a couple questions. So does it, like with what Becky's talking about, does it take that document and kind of quarantine it until you tell it what to do? Or is it gone and then you're recalling it?
So it is gone and I'm recalling it, yes. It alerts me just in case, because they're, you know, like in that case, that was a legitimate use of the software. And so it doesn't pull back automatically. It alerts me first, it lets me do that.
Do we do any type of training with our staff on do's and don'ts of what they can and can't do with technology?
We do. We have in the past. 2 years ago, we trained Madison Southern High School on, it was about an hour long. We talked about everything from web filtering to, you know, some good practices. Like you said, we don't give them do's and don'ts so much as, hey, these are smart things, these are not smart things. But we do try to train our staff as much as possible so
We
that
don't
they.
just put them out there and hope and pray.
No, ma'am. And what's nice about that is we have offered our principals for the coming school year, hey, when you have those beginning of the year trainings, let me know. We'd love to have 20 minutes just to come in and talk to the staff, so.
And what about our students? Because I think about this cyber stuff all the time. What about our students? Because they've all got logins and access. Is there a way to stop them from getting on sites they shouldn't be on, sharing information through their emails that they're not supposed to be sharing? Do we have bumper rails and guardrails up for that on the student side of things?
We do. So a couple things with that. There are, it is 5th grade and 8th grade. We do it's a curriculum. I can't remember the name of the curriculum off the top of my head now, but we do a curriculum with them where they get training. It's age appropriate. You know, they take the test, do the stuff, you know, that kind of thing. And it helps us actually keep our E-rate funding. In our, like for instance, we use Google for our email. So in Google Admin, we have the bumper rails that we can set up so that it does put some of those protections in place. Now, no system is foolproof, but we do have a lot of those things already in place, and we've actually been audited by a company called Amplified IT. They are a leader in the Google Admin space, and so they have looked at our environment, made suggestions, we made the changes, that kind of thing.
This is just an added level, correct me if I'm wrong,
No,
an
go for it.
added level of security. More on the Google, on the platforms versus just an antiviral McAfee stuff that are on the devices.
Yes.
That you can run reports on to view discrepancies and then act upon them. Is that the cliff note?
But it also replaces our antivirus as
It
well.
replaces it,
Yeah,
right.
but yes.
So, but it's just an added, so it's going to protect us, hopefully even more so, against any type of cybersecurity issue.
Yeah.
And
Cliff note.
that replacement, how will that affect the speed of our computers?
So, good question. So, we did do a pretty good test and analysis. We have interns, and we love them. But we made them use our systems that had McAfee versus the systems that had Palo. So for a full week, that was all they got to use. They were allowed to use nothing else. And so we watched the McAfee usage, and McAfee is, it's just a resource hog. It's like, you know, at the end of the day where you have talked to 100,000 people and your brain's dead. That's what McAfee does to your computer all the time. And so usually what we see is if it's not scanning, you're using 70, 80% of your RAM and all that kind of stuff. With Palo, what we saw 10 to 15% usage of your RAM and all that. And so it's giving it that cup of coffee in the morning. It's basically keeping the computer from locking up in the first place. And so McAfee, one of the things that it loves to do is it will wait until you are not using your computer, but it chooses when it decides that you're not using it. And so, like, for instance, we had a teacher at Waco, actually, who poor thing. She was using a classroom management system on an interactive board, and as the kids would come in, they would tap their name on the board to show that they were there that day. They would come up and they would do classroom activities, all kinds of things like that. Well, she would click it, it would be up on the board, and because McAfee would scan, because she wasn't using her computer at the moment, the kids would click their item, it would wait, it would wait, it would wait, it would wait, finally it would come up. And so McAfee, though it's doing its job, there are times when it also can be a hindrance more than a help. And so the Palo, what we saw was that it fixed a lot of those issues.
So one more kind of silly question.
No, go for it.
Will you all be able to push out through the network the installation of this program and deinstall all the McAfee, or are you all going to have to go out and touch every single device?
We expect that we'll be able to do about 75% of that. We'll have to touch about 25%. Yeah. McAfee can be difficult to remove, which it should be. But yeah, we think we can do most of it remotely.
I was just thinking of the whole IT group spending
Hey, I appreciate that.
a lot of time,
Yes, ma'am.
tremendous amount of time.
Even 25%.
And I may, I am not an expert on this stuff.
No, go for it. Hey, ask me anything you like.
Is this system, because, you know, the MFA is the big elephant in the room and is the huge issue. Does this Palo Alto give us the opportunity to add that on, for lack of a better word? If we can get KDE and get to the point where we can get the multi-factor authentication set up, is that something completely different that we'll have to do? Or is that something that we can piggyback with this on?
Yeah, so the MFA, this will not help that. And just to kind of put your mind at ease, hopefully a little bit, we already use MFA on all of our email accounts. Infinite Campus, some of our, what they call the silos of information. What is actually coming down the pipe from KDE, and this was unprompted, was they have purchased for us a big Microsoft license that will give us that ability. And so within the next year, they're doing what's called the Baseline of Security project. And we're going to be talking about the data breach and cybersecurity stuff in July. So I was going to talk about some of this then, but they are doing a Baseline of Security project. They're updating the way we do our accounts, how those things are stored, a bunch of stuff, and that gives us the ability to do MFA. So hopefully very soon, we'll be able to do some of those things that make us more insurable.
I didn't know if you have to have some type of program. I mean, obviously you have to have something, but I don't know enough about it to know what that something is.
Yeah.
So, okay, great.
One more thing, kind of out there, but what if a teacher sends something out and then realizes right off the bat that she sent something out personal that she didn't need? Can she contact you and you have that retracted?
So she can actually retract that for the first, I believe it's 30 seconds, if I'm not mistaken. There's just a little thing at the bottom of your Google screen that.
Panic mode for 30 seconds.
I know, right?
That's not very long.
So, and it depends. I hate to say it that way. I know that's a terrible answer. But it just depends on what she did. If she shared a document, I can absolutely go get that for her. If it's an email where she just typed something up and she hit send, not so much. But hopefully, through some of our training and some of the stuff we're doing, that will be mitigated, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Lay it on me, I'm ready.
If not, can I have a
You are
motion?
ready.
I'm ready.
Can I have a motion to approve the purchase of Palo Alto antivirus and endpoint disaster recovery software from Integration Partners as presented?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Brock,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Cobb. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, next up is 7T, which is also Mr. Burnett.
Absolutely.
Is to approve the CDW purchases for Madison Central High School.
Yes, sir. So what is going on there? We get CETS funding from the state every year. This year, I believe it was, I don't remember the exact amount, so I won't even try to quote it, but we get so much money per student for what they call the unmet technology need. And so that's what our CETS funding is really for. It is really to provide our district with anything that we have a commodity code for, but for schools in particular, we do a lot of student devices, that kind of stuff. I can also do, big server purchases with it, network switches, those kinds of things. And so what has happened was we have given a disbursement to each of the schools to use for those devices, things like that. This year, Madison Central actually had 2 years of funding for KETS, where they have to match that amount of money that the state gives, and then they are given that money to use for those devices. And so that's what they're going to be doing with this. This is a purchase to give them, I looked up so much with Palo, 260 Chromebooks. There we go, and 7 charging carts. It's a purchase to basically fill in some of those gaps with their educational devices. And so, any questions with that?
No questions. Can I have a motion to approve the purchase of Chromebooks and carts from CDW from Madison Central High School?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Cobb,
Second.
second by Ms. Burford. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, sir, appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Ben.
Appreciate it.
Next up is 7U, which is to approve our annual bus purchases. Mr. Lakes.
How are you, everybody?
Good, how are you?
All right. Coming to you to request a purchase of 10 buses. Each year, we try to maintain our fleet by purchasing 10 buses. What I'm requesting is 5 Thomas buses, 5 84-passenger buses at $137,990 each, 3 72-passenger buses at $107,495 each, and 2 66-passenger special needs buses at $125,010 each. All the buses, all 10, will have tinted windows. The special needs buses only will be air conditioned. The grand total for this is $1,262,455. Are there any questions?
We're going to install our own cameras.
Yes.
That's fine.
Yes. We purchase and install those.
We're basically doing the same thing we've done the last few years, same buses, same.
Same buses. Thomas is the only bus company manufacturer. There's 3 major ones. They're the only ones that make 84-passenger buses. Plus, by getting the same kind of buses every year, it keeps our mechanics who have to purchase their own tools, a lot of their own tools. It keeps them working on the same equipment, so they're not having to buy extra tools. And Thomas has been very good to us, so the buses are reliable, and so we continue to buy those. But last year, we did not because of the Volkswagen settlement a year and a half ago. So last summer, we only bought 6. So this year, we're back to 10.
Any questions? No questions. Can I have a motion to approve the purchase of 5 84-passenger buses, 3 72-passenger buses, and 2 66-passenger special need buses for a total of $1,262,455 from Thomas Buses?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Brock,
Second.
second by Ms. Cole. All those in favor?
Aye.
Just for the public's knowledge, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, people have in the past said to me, you bought 10 new buses. How many miles, do you know right off the top of your head, do our buses travel every day? when
Over
they're in?
10,000.
Over 10,000 miles per day. That's the reason we need 10 new buses there.
Right, we have 182 buses in our, now, I'm not counting the buses parked at schools that are for evacuation
That's
purposes.
exempt.
Right, I have 182 buses that we have in circulation. That's regular route buses every day and sub buses because they do break down and we have to have extra buses. So we have 182. The way the depreciation is set up through the state, after 14 years, they're essentially worth nothing, okay? But we still have buses on the road that are over 14 years old if they're still running well. So, but you're supposed to keep your fleet going, you have to, a bus is supposed to last 14 years. So we have to purchase 10 buses a year to maintain the size of our fleet. So, because we are a very large district.
Very large. We appreciate you and your staff and the drivers
I have to say,
for the amazing job.
She is fantastic, wonderful. I've learned so much from her. She's fantastic. 40 years, still got 10 or 12 to go. So,
She should, well, you know
with
what?
you.
You do an amazing job, and, you know, I went to the retirement dinner the other night, and what struck me, there was somebody that retired. She's been driving the same route for what, 27 or 28 years?
Long time.
24 years, yeah.
24
Yeah.
years. And that's the,
It's your sister?
so that's the first person that those children saw every single morning. And to me, bus drivers are such an integral part because that sets the tone for the day for those kids. And I appreciate them so much.
And I do as well. When I was a principal, I had a lady, I was principal at Daniel Boone, and we had a lady that was a driver, drove for years for us. And, you know, once a month, twice a month, she'd knock on the door because she would be the first bus there, and she had a monitor, so she would come in and want to talk to me because she may have noticed something that was going on at the home, you know, and she would say, you know, this could be nothing. And, you know, most of the time she was wrong. But there were times that she was right. And being able to address that, because you know what she sees and what the teacher sees, when you put those together, then you might discover something, a child might need help. And so the people do not realize and understand the job that they do.
Well, and during COVID, I mean, they delivered food, they took homework. I mean, it goes way above picking up and dropping off kids. And we realize that and we appreciate it.
And we have all rode in a regular car some of their routes, not all their routes, but some of the most dangerous routes that I don't even want to take my car on, and they're driving a bus.
And do it, and most of the school year in the mornings, they're doing it in the dark.
Yes.
And so it's.
In rain.
Right.
And sleet.
Right.
We really appreciate
There's
it.
roads I go on, I go, how in the world?
Do they
did
fit a
get
bus on
out
here? Right.
I mean, tell that person to walk down there.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank you,
you.
Mr.
We
Lakes.
need a
Appreciate
bus
it.
driver appreciation day.
Next up is 7V, which is to approve the continuation of contract with Mind PSI. Anything?
Yeah, this is for school psych services. It's most efficient use is to contract with outside, just as, to provide additional services as needed. And we've been doing this for several years. It's annual renewal of our contract.
Any questions? No questions. Can I have a motion to approve the continuation of contract with Mind PSI for school psychologist services?
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion by Ms. Brock, second by Ms. Cobb. All those in favor? Aye. Next up is 7W, which is to approve the contract for therapy services.
Same thing here. This is a contract we've had for several years, just for additional therapy services. Whenever our current OTs and PTs and so forth are unable to complete.
Any questions? No questions. Can I have a motion to approve the contract for therapy services with hands-on therapy?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Brock,
Second.
second by Ms. Cool. All those in favor? Aye. Next up is 7X, which is to approve orientation and mobility services.
Yeah, this is contract, same thing. I mean, it's a contract for additional services. This is our annual renewal. This is for orientation and mobility, which is services provided to our visually impaired students. It's required within their IEPs, and it has to be delivered by a certified orientation and mobility provider. We do not have any on staff in the district, and it's we don't use them very often. We have a few students that are visually impaired, and there's a platform of services they have to receive periodically throughout the school year. So we contract with an outside agency.
Any questions? No questions. Can I have a motion to approve the agreement for orientation and mobility services for students with visual impairments, authorizing Tracy French as the provider for services?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Burford,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Brock. All those in favor? Aye. Next up is 7Y, which is to approve a revised mowing contract.
I have a question. This, I know before we said we had different contracts with different people because they could take care of 5 schools and this one take care of this. This one has a lot on here, just one person. So we feel very comfortable that they can take care of all these schools.
They've been doing a great job.
Do they do all these
They do.
already?
Yes.
I thought they had different
We had
ones.
one
We-
that quit.
Yes. We did have them with a couple of different folks, and one group, middle of the year, said, we don't want to do it anymore. And so they walked away. We could have held them to the contract, I guess, but, meanwhile, the grass be growing while we're battling them. So this group stepped in and just did that, finished their contract out at the at the same price. They've been doing a great job. Our contract, we do bid them separately, but those are on it's an annual contract with the ability to renew up to 4 years without bidding. So we can renegotiate. And so we've done a little bit of renegotiating, but continuing on, so.
Any other questions? Have a motion to approve the revised mowing contracts with Ballard Property Maintenance as presented.
So move.
I'll second.
Motion by Ms. Burford, second by Ms. Brock. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next up is 7Z. We have made it to Z. Approve request for kindergarten early entrance. Dr. Gillum,
Students went through all of the process to go into kindergarten early. It does require board approval, so.
Any questions? Now, can I have a motion to accept the superintendent's recommendation and approve the request for early entrance into kindergarten as presented?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Brock,
A second.
second by Ms. Cobb. All those in favor? Aye. Now we're into the 7AA, which is to approve the intent to participate in CEP.
CEPs are Community Eligibility Program, which provides the meals, food service meals at no cost to our students. So we just have to, the board needs to approve this. If we want to continue that, we fill out the application and send it in to the FDA.
Any questions? Can I have a motion to approve the intent to participate in the Community Eligibility Provision Program as presented?
So move.
Motion by Ms. Burford,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Brock. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next is 7BB, which is to set the meal prices.
Yeah, even though we don't charge kids, we do have to set meal prices, and but we also set adult prices. Students eat at no cost, but the adults do have to pay, and this does reflect a very slight increase on that. As you can see, the adult breakfast is $3.25, and adult lunch is $5. So.
And it is worth every penny. Any questions? Any questions or comments? All right, can I have a motion to revise the 2022-2023 meal prices for adult meals and set the meal prices for 2023-2024?
Someone,
Motion by Ms. Cole,
Second.
second by Ms. Brock. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next up is 7CC, which is to approve the final reading of policy 09.1222. I think this is a policy we read last month.
First read was in May. This is our second read. It's the one that's required by, it's our non-resident student policy. It's the one required by House Bill 538 from prior legislative session.
Any questions, comments? Have a motion to approve the final reading of revised Madison County Schools Policy 09.1222.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Cobb,
Second.
second by Ms. Brock. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next is 7DD, which is approve the first reading of the 2022-2023 policy updates.
You all have these. You can take a look through them. Just so everyone is aware, the Kentucky School Board Association reviews all of our policies annually following legislative session and makes the notes in there that reflect the changes required by the legislature. Typically, those are just a few little references here and there. That's what most of this is, but it is the policies that are impacted. Everything you see here is a policy revision recommended by them, just to keep our policies consistent with law.
Any questions? Have a motion to approve the first reading of the 2022-2023 policy updates as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Brock,
second.
second by Ms. Cole. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next up is number 8, our superintendent's report. Dr. Gillum.
Well, thank you. So since our last meeting, we conduct our graduation ceremonies. We appreciate all the hard work of our high school staffs to put together such a wonderful celebration. We also know that this event is the culmination of the work that's done throughout the district as we see students come in preschool, kindergarten, all the way through. And it's a really neat thing during that time of year to see those seniors go back to their elementary schools, walk the halls in their caps and gowns, and see their former teachers and other folks that play such an important role in their development and eventual graduation from Madison County Schools. Some other things that we've got going on, or had going on this past month, on May 17th, I met with Dr. McFadden from EKU, talk about some collaborative partnerships. EKU is really doing a great job to work with us. One thing that they're doing that we're pushing out is tuition discount for all of our Madison County Schools employees. So that's a tuition discount for those who are employed for their undergrad, if we have paraeducators who want to go back and finish a degree, or and as well for our folks that already have a degree to pursue a master's degree as well.
Nice.
So
That's
it's a very nice benefit. And there's several other things we're working with EKU on. They're a great partner. I also want to mention June 2nd was a retirement dinner. We made reference to it just a moment ago. It was a great evening to celebrate with all our retirees. Really enjoyed that. We appreciate everyone that worked hard to put that on. It's also, we're kind of wrapping up our spring sports season. Congratulations to all of our spring sport athletes. We had several members win events at the state track meet this past weekend. Tennis and softball finished up, baseball, good seasons there. Congratulations to Madison Central making the state baseball tournament. So a lot of good things there with their spring sports. And then I turned right around and noticed that, this week we've had basketball camps and football camps going on. So we're back to fall and winter sports. And also make the board aware, I sent you an email earlier with the summarized notes from our strategic planning event that we had, so you kind of see some of the ideas that were generated through that. We will take those ideas, those priorities, those notes, and use that to update our strategic plan sometime over the summer. So that is my superintendent report.
Thank you. Next up is number 9, comments from the board. Everyone talked out. All right. Next up is number 10, which is enter to executive session to discuss future acquisition for sale of real property for which publicity would likely affect the value per KRS 61.8101B. So can I have a motion to enter into executive session to discuss future acquisition or sale of real property which publicity would likely affect the value per KRS 61.811B?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Brock,
Second.
second by Ms. Cobb. All those in favor? Aye. All right.
Say cheers.
Motion by Ms. Burford, second by
Beth.
Ms. Brock. All those in favor? Aye. All right, there is no actions taken in executive session. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Cobb, second by Ms. Cool. All those in favor? Aye.
Adios.
Weird.